Hello and welcome. So what we're looking at today is objects and classes. And anything that we're going to learn in this term, objects and classes, is about probably the most important thing you can learn about and also differentiate when it comes to object-oriented programming and programming in Java. So we have to go over some terms and some definitions of those terms to kind of get a basic understanding of what we're talking about. Now, up to this point, we've been using the word objects and classes and kind of all over the place, but really having to define what they are. And I find a lot of students at this point are really confused. And so what we're going to try to do is clear up some of that confusion. Alright, so looking at an object. So an object is an entity that you can manipulate in your programs by calling these things called methods. Now each object that you create belongs to a class. You can think of a class as a type of thing, a group of things that share like characteristics. Like, I don't know, a car typically has four wheels, has a motor, and you can drive it. So you would say there's a car, but you could also be more specific, like there's a Mini Cooper. That's a type of car. So the Mini Cooper belongs to the class called cars. It's just a specific type of car. It's actually an object that belongs to that class. Like, for example, we've been using system.out. This belongs to the class called printstream, and this is how we're able to send out text to the command line output. Is using system.out. So system.out is the name of the object, but the class it belongs to is printstream. If we look at the UML diagram for that, usually it's represented by the class name is in the top part, and then there's data in the middle, and then on the bottom are all the methods that you can call using that object. Now we talked about methods. A method is a sequence of instructions that accesses the data in the object. So what does that mean in English? Basically, it's some programming that allows you to access or actually even manipulate information that's hidden inside the object. And the way you do this is you call a method. The word call is kind of strange too. That means just to do something or to execute something or to run something. You can think that calling a method. They used to be called functions in old school programming, and now they call them methods. So inside the class you declare the methods that you can apply to the objects of that class. So each object has a set of methods that are defined in the class that you can use on the object to manipulate the object. So for example, the class kind of determines what methods you can call. So here we have a string called greeting that has inside of it the string hello. But you can't say greeting.println because greeting doesn't have a println method. That's only on the printstream class. So that's an error. But you can get the length of a string, so you can ask the string, hey, how long are you? And it will tell you the value. So where println, even though it's a method on another class, and it means you can't call it on this object because it doesn't belong to that class. Where greeting here does have a length method, and you're able to figure out how many characters are in the string. Now each class specifies what's called a public interface. These are ways that you can call methods into the class, and it shows you how your program can actually use the object or use the class to solve a problem. And you do that through its public interface. Now there's this concept of an overloaded method. This is kind of difficult concept for a lot of people to understand. But in a nutshell, what happens is you can basically override a method of maybe a parent class inside of a child class. So an overloaded method, when a class declares two methods, I guess I've said that wrong. So what I meant to say is you can have a name of a method that appears more than one time in the class. It can have the same name, but as long as they have different parameters, they're considered two different methods. So that's what method overloading means. I was thinking of overriding methods earlier. So for example, the printstream class declares a second method called for a print line, where you say public void print line int output. So this is for printing out integers rather than strings. Now notice it has the same name, print line, but it has a different parameter going in. So here the parameter says it has to be an integer, so you can output an integer using print line. So the print line method itself, the name has been overloaded, and it can be used for multiple sets of parameters that are coming in. Now here we are looking at two strings. One has hello in it, the other one looks like it has Mississippi in it. Both of them are objects of the string class, so they're the same kind of thing, but they have different data inside them. Notice that the methods for the two objects are the same because they belong to the same class. You can ask this string how long it is, you can ask that string how long it is. You can convert, you can get a copy of the string all in uppercase from this one, do the same here. So the methods are the same, it's just the data is different. So what does length do? Well, it tells you how many characters are in the string. So if you had a string called hello world and you asked it how long it was, it would return the value of 13, because you'd count all the letters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So space counts as 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 characters in the string. Now to uppercase, what that does is creates another string object that contains the characters of the original string with all the lowercase letters converted to uppercase. So all the little letters or small letters are made into capital letters. So if you took Mississippi and then you call to uppercase, that will return a string where all the letters are capitalized, and so you get Big River set to Mississippi. Notice too that to uppercase doesn't actually change the value of river, doesn't convert this all up to uppercase. It just returns you a copy of the string and what it would look like if all the letters were capitalized. Now when applying a method to an object, make sure the method is defined in the appropriate class. So again, here you're using printstream and you're trying to call a method that belongs to the string class, and of course that doesn't work, and the compiler will complain. So here's a self-check. How can you compute the length of the string Mississippi? Well, you can just ask the string how long it is. In fact, you can just put the string literal there and just ask it how long that would be. So here we are. You could say river.length, or say you don't have a river variable. If you just want to see how long Mississippi is, you can just put Mississippi in quotes. It's a string, and so you can call the method length on it, and it will return the length of the string. Here's another self-check. How can you print out the uppercase version of hello world? Well, you need to do a system out.println, right? But then you'd have to take the hello world string, or maybe that's greeting, and convert it to uppercase. So maybe you call it to uppercase. Let's see how you do that. Yeah, this is a little complicated because println takes a string, but what you can do is where you would normally have a string, you can put a call to a method that returns the string. So you can save a line of code and perhaps save having to create a temporary variable or local variable by just embedding the function call or the method call right in the print line call. So you say greeting, call to uppercase, it will do what's in the parentheses first. It will return you an uppercase version of greeting, and then it will send that as a parameter or an argument going into print line, and that will print out hello world, but all in caps. Is it legal to call river.println? Why or why not? Well, river we know is a string. Do strings have a println method? And we know from earlier that strings don't have a println method. So this is incorrect. If you really wanted to do this, you would say system.out.println and then pass river in as a parameter to the println method. Yeah, this is not legal. So we've been talking about parameters, but we really haven't talked about, or we haven't defined really what they are. And so you look at parameters, and basically this is like you can send values into a method that you can use inside the method to calculate the output of the method. So a parameter is an input to a method. For example, if you look here, you see that greeting is being used to satisfy that parameter to the println method so you can print something out. Now there is a parameter that you can't see. That's what an implicit parameter means, or the word implicit means it's invisible. You can't actually, or it's implied. Every time you call a method, there's a hidden parameter that's actually a reference to the object that you're calling the method on. It's nice that Java does that implicitly, or otherwise you would have to send it in every time. And so luckily you don't have to do that, and so they keep that implicit or invisible. So system.out.println, you say greeting. Not only do you get the greeting parameter passed in, but you also get a reference to the output stream passed in as well. Now here, the explicit parameters right here is greeting. Explicit means you can see it. It's not implied. It's right there in your face. All the parameters except the implicit parameter. So any other parameters that might be in here. So this is explicit. The implicit is a reference to the object, and you can't see that because you don't include it. But it is included for you behind the scenes. Now, some methods don't have any explicit parameters like length. You can just ask the string its length. You really don't need to send any data in. You don't need any additional information to figure out its length. So this has no explicit parameter. Now, if you're passing a parameter into the println method, it kind of looks like this. You pass in the string, and then you say system.out.println, pass in the string, and it'll send the string out to the command line. Now, some methods return a value, and some don't. And so we have to look at return values to get a complete understanding of what a method is and how it works. So here, their definition is a return value is a result that the method has computed for use by the code that called it. So say you wanted to get the length of a string greeting like we did earlier. Well, length returns a value telling you how long it is, and you can use that value to assign to the variable n. And then you can use that n later in the code. Say you're doing something with it, or you're doing some parsing. Now you have that value, the length of the string kind of captured here in this variable n. So you call length, it doesn't take it in parameters, all the data is right here. So it counts up the number of letters in the string, and then it spits out the number 13. So length returns a value. So does toUpperCase, by the way. Remember, we said that toUpperCase returns a copy of the string, but all the letters are capitalized. Now you can take the return values from methods and pass them into other methods. We saw that here, where we can take the length. Say we wanted to print out the length. Well, length returns an integer, how long it is, and say you wanted to print that out. We could do that with system.out.println. So you could put the value n there, or you could actually just call the length method directly. And in the place where you normally have a number or a string, you can put actually a call to a method. As long as that method returns a value, and the println method can actually print out values of that type, then you're okay to do this. This makes coding a lot more concise and convenient, but for the novice programmer it could be a little bit challenging to understand. So see how you call the length method first, and then you feed that number directly into the println method over here in printstream. So passing the result of a method call to another method. And this is what it looks like perhaps internally. Now, not all methods return a value. Notice how println doesn't spit anything out as a return value. Its return type is void. It does send things out to the command line, but it doesn't return any value as a result of the method call, nor does print for that matter. Okay, so let's look at a little bit more complex method call. There's a method in the string class called replace. So a string method replace carries out a search and replace operation. So say you're trying to turn Mississippi into Missouri, so you say, well, go look in this larger string, river, and replace any string that looks like this, replace it with this, and then suddenly you've turned the river from the Mississippi River into the Missouri River. There's a mistake on the slide, and you have to be careful here. See how this slide they have slanted quotes here? Those are called smart quotes. Your compiler will not understand that. All the quotes have to be just regular quotes that you would type in on your keyboard. So again, replace takes two parameters, right? The first string is what you're looking for, and the other string is the replacement. You send that into the replace, and then replace will construct a new string and spit out Missouri. I was just in Missouri about 3 weeks ago. And this method call has one implicit parameter, and that's the object itself, or reference to the object itself, the actual string Mississippi. It's a river, has inside it Mississippi, and there's a reference to that sent to the method call replace. Luckily we don't have to type that in because that's all done behind the scenes. Our explicit parameters are the two strings coming in, the string we want to replace and the replacement string. So how does parameter passing work? Well, let's take a look at that. Doesn't look like this is working though. I guess we'll have to skip that. So what are the implicit parameters, explicit parameters, and return values to a method called Well, why don't you think about that? Looking at river, we know that's a string. Maybe it has Mississippi in it. We call length. The implicit parameter is basically the object river, because you can't see that, but that's always passed in as a reference to the object that you're calling on, or you could think of it a reference to the object itself. The explicit parameters, well, we see that the parentheses are empty, so there is no explicit parameters, and the return value is whatever the length of the string is, so it returns an integer, I think. Let's see what we get. The implicit parameter is river, the object itself. There is no explicit parameter. The return value is 11. What is the result of a call to river.replace? Say you have Mississippi and you replace all the P's with S's. What do you get? That would be kind of funny. I think Mississippi, I think. Yeah, that's what it says. Mississippi. So all the P's got replaced with S, and you can see that here. So what's the result of a call to greeting that replace world with world, Dave dot length? That's complicated. So first we have to do this first part, which I guess is the replace. So hello world becomes hello Dave. And then how long is that? Well, hello is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus the space is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm thinking 10, and then once you have that string built, then you ask for its length. So what would you get back? 12. It didn't count very well. Hello. Oh, I think there's an exclamation point. And there's a comma. So I forgot those two, so that's why there's 12. How is the toUpperCase method defined in the string class? Well, we know that it returns a string, right? We know it's public because we can call it. So, yeah, it would be public string, that's its return value, toUpperCase. It doesn't have any explicit parameters because it just returns a copy of the string it has inside it, so it doesn't need any additional input. Alright, I think that's everything here. Let's just look at some slides coming up. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of confusion here. So what I'll do is I'll stop here and I'll make another video about rectangular shapes and rectangular objects, or in rectangle objects. But that'll be for next time.